Hello and welcome back to the Cars Ireland YouTube channel. I'm Sinead and we've got a big one for you today. Big physically and big in the market news sense of the word, because this is something that larger Irish families have been crying out for quite some time, which is an all-electric 7-seat SUV. And that's exactly what Kia have delivered here with their all-new EV9. Now, it's not quite right to say that there's no other 7-seat electric options on the market. There is, of course, the Mercedes EQB, the upcoming Volvo EX90, which are both really great premium options, but also well into six-figure territory. Whereas this, well, not cheap, comes in at a perhaps more accessible €78,000. That's for the entry-level Earth model. This GT line model starts at closer to 86 and comes with the option of 6 or 7 seats. Now, I should also mention the more affordable 7-seat EV options out there. Citroën in particular have a couple of really good options in their e-Berlingo and e-Space Tourer, but they are essentially vans, and there are people who are just not quite ready to say goodbye to the last of their street cred and start driving a minibus, no matter how many kids they have. And the EV9, well, it could be accused of being many things visually. Boring is not one of them. Now, we've got quite a lot to get through today, so I'll save you the visual description, but this is what you call a statement car. It's sort of American muscle meets Range Rover, but with that planet-friendly electric edge. It's actually hard to believe that there's a battery big enough to power this thing, but there is, albeit a massive 100 kilowatt hour one. The official range for the Earth model is 563 kilometres, whereas this GT line model gets a dual motor and a lot more power, and so will go a slightly shorter distance of 505 kilometres on a single charge. It's also got some of the most impressive charging speeds around and can take on up to 240 kilowatts an hour. That's providing you'll find a charger to give you that, which is a different question. But in theory, this thing can take a 250 kilometre top up in just 15 minutes. So let's get down to business and have a look inside this 5 by 2 metre squared behemoth of a vehicle. Starting with the boot, which can usually be a bit of a disappointment on cars like this with more than 5 seats. And at 312 litres, it's not exactly huge, but it is still really useful, which is more than what can be said for a lot of 7-seaters, especially SUV style ones. But you've got more than enough room here for your weekly shop, a compact stroller. Not bad at all. Now, if you're not using these back seats, you can drop them with the press of a button. See some lovely smooth electric folding action here, which leaves you with an enormous space, and even more satisfying again, you can drop the middle row with another press of a button, and boom, so much room for activities. So the back row, or the back as we christened it here long ago, doesn't actually feel like a back at all. And what I mean by that is it's actually pretty comfortable. As an adult, you generally have to contort and squeeze yourself into this back row and grin and bear it for as long as you can stand it, because a lift's a lift at the end of the day. But this actually feels like a proper part of the car. The seats are finished to the same high standard as everywhere else. You've got ventilation, USB ports for charging. For me, it feels like a realistic everyday option rather than 2 seats that you'd use in a pinch, although they can be that too. You've also got 2 sets of Isofix anchors for child seats, which I presume will come in handy if you're in the market for a car like this one. And now on to the fun part, which is the middle row. Now, this is the 6-seat version. You can get a 7-seat version for the same price. Why would anybody want less seats, I hear you ask? And I was wondering the same thing. But essentially it comes down to comfort. As you can see in this 6-seat version, you get 2 individual seats instead of a middle bench. So say, for example, you've got 2 kids already, you find out you're expecting twins, they can go either side here and you've still got access to the back to strap those kids in. So it just gives you that extra bit of room to manoeuvre. Another very cool feature is the ability to turn these seats around completely and face the back. So it could be handy for a little family conference, or maybe you want to keep an eye on things back here on a longer journey in comfort. And just to confirm, it is legal for passengers to sit like this while the car is moving. And not only that, it's actually proven to be an awful lot safer in a crash to be facing backwards, which is where the idea of rear-facing car seats for children comes from, and the recommendation that you keep them rear-facing for as long as possible. Now, up front, it's hard to know where to start because it is tech heavy up here. Some of it is going to feel familiar from the EV6, this dual stretch across screen, for example, and the digital cockpit. There's not a huge amount of physical buttons to speak of, but you have got some haptic ones along the bottom here, which will take you to the home screen if you're in a hurry. And the heating and ventilation controls also fall easily to hand. The seats are infinitely adjustable, electrically of course, and the seats in this GT line model will even give you a massage if you want one, sometimes even if you don't want one. They're heated, ventilated, pretty much everything has been designed with your utmost comfort in mind, which is a good thing because I think some people won't feel immediately comfortable behind the wheel of a vehicle this size. And all these gadgets help somewhat to put your mind at ease. So let's have a look at this screen here. You've got your EV information, your Bluetooth, CarPlay if you prefer, some intricate climate control settings which will allow you to guide the direction of your airflow. To be honest, it feels a bit like sitting in the cockpit of a spaceship, and I'd say there's probably smaller spaceships out there than the EV9. Now, there comes a point where I feel technology can go too far, and for me it's here, where they've replaced a perfectly good rear view mirror with a camera system. Why? I have no idea. All I know is that I'm not a fan. In my opinion, it's gimmicky, it's distracting, and it's not actually that clear, especially when you're driving at night, and I find that the headlights from the car behind you can give a weird halo effect. So call me old-fashioned, but I prefer a good old-fashioned mirror where you can actually see what's behind you instead of this over-engineered nonsense. But luckily, you can turn it off. On the road, the EV9 feels, I think, exactly how you might expect it to drive from looking at it, in that it's large and in charge, and you sometimes feel like you're taking up 5 lanes of traffic, but you're not. It's actually not even that wide. It's about the same width as a BMW X5. I think it's just the boxy shape and height that makes it feel that bit more substantial. And the important thing to note when you're talking about size is that if you're in the market for a 6 or 7 seater SUV, all of your options are large. Or maybe you don't need all those seats at all and you just enjoy driving a big car, which is what you're getting, and it's not that much bigger than what's within its category. But adding that super quick and smooth electric power to the mix is what makes for a truly unique experience, and this is a fast car. It's got the equivalent of about 384 PS in the GT line version, so very, very quick off the mark, in a straight line I should say, because this is not the type of car that you'll be throwing around corners. But those coming from a diesel SUV in particular are going to be really, really impressed with just how immediate that power uptake is. The range, I am pleased to report, is pretty accurate in real life, with 450, 460 kilometres easily and comfortably achievable, and that doesn't take too much of a hammering at motorway speeds either, which is good news for commuters. Now, there are a lot of driving aids, some useful, some irritating. The bongs, for example, when you go half a kilometre over the speed limit or are trying to change lanes. But on the flip side, the blind spot monitoring system and 360-degree parking camera are excellent. I've already shared my thoughts on the rear view mirror / camera situation, but even though I've turned it off, it's still watching me, and believe it or not, giving out if it thinks that I'm taking my eyes off the road for too long, which is a feature I can't really argue with really when you consider how many accidents are caused by drivers staring at their phones. And that is the all-new, all-singing, all-dancing Kia EV9. Finally, an eco-friendly option for those blessed in both the family and the wallet department. Let us know what you think in the comments section below. Like and share if you enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to see more like it, hit subscribe. If you'd like to check out the Kia EV9 for yourself, you can do so at your local Kia dealer, details of which you'll find on CarsIreland.ie.